Welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Therapy hour here on Monday after a putrid performance by the Dallas Cowboys. We'll hit any and all super chats, mailbags, and vent session, whatever you guys need in the end. Pinned poll on today's video. What should the Cowboys be at the deadline? B for buyers, S for sellers, H for holders, i.e. do nothing, which might be you couldn't find anything to do. B, S, or H in the comments of today's show. 57% voting buy. Interesting. 26% voting sell, 17% voting hold. We'll look at the buy and the sell side on today's video. Latest rumors that are out there, updates. I do think it's pretty obvious now that the Cowboys just lied to their local media about making calls, which is a good thing, by the way. B, S, or H, let me know in the comment section of today's show. Curious how this plays out as we move forward. I'm open to all of it, just depends on what's really available. I don't know what's truly available that makes sense. I don't know if a one rental defender, regardless of where it is actually going to change things for you. That's my main concern there. But get your votes in, B, S, or H in the comment section of today's show. What should the Cowboys do at this year's NFL trade deadline? Producer Aiden seems like he wants to chime in here. So what's up, my friend?
I just didn't know if there was if the outlook had changed at all on a Jermaine Johnson, a Jalen Phillips, if we've heard any more, rumors, buzz about other teams calling about them. Or?
Johnson interests me a little bit more because he's under contract for next year. Mm-hmm. They allegedly, the Jets and Johnson got together and said, we're not going to trade you. Okay. So we'll see. I think the right value, you could get him. You offer a first, but
definitely,
should you be offering a first? No. So that's the crux of the issue of can you actually, you have to win the trade. You have to win the deal, which the Jones boys love to do. I don't know what winning deal you're going to be able to make for a multi-year player at this front. So get your votes in, B, S, or H in the comment section of today's show. B, S, or H. And then you guys can predict how many more games the Cowboys will win over the course of the season. I think I will play my must-win card again against the Cardinals. You lose that game against a 2-5 Arizona team, it's over, man. You're not doing it. You're not making a run the way you need to going into your bye. You should just sell like hell that next morning because that's Monday Night Football into the trade deadline, which kind of sucks. But how many more games will the Cowboys win? 10. Mark my word. They won't, but it'd be fun. It'd be fun. That's not officially over yet, but it doesn't look great, frankly. 0. No, okay. It's not going to be 0. It's not going to be 10. Promise you that. Unless your offense gets decimated by injury next week. That's how it happens. You lose your top players on offense, all of them, because your defense can't stop a nosebleed right now. 4 from Jason Phillips. I think that's much more in the ballpark there. That 4 wouldn't be a huge surprise to me necessarily. So 6 would be nice. 6 to 8 would be great. Borderline playoff team. The schedule's hard. The schedule's very, very hard. This is the Super Chat menu on today's show. Any Super Chat is a shout-out. $5 gets you a raffle entry into, don't know yet what we're going to give away. Might do the mystery box next week. Mystery signed jersey, which I have no idea what it is, but it sounds fun. Other channels here have done that. So we'll see. $5 for that. $10 gets you 3 raffle entries. $50 is a shot. $100 is a beer bong. That is the Super Chat menu on today's show. And if you tuned out early, because you could have, final chance to grade the Cowboys against the Broncos. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. A, B, C, D, or F. Excuse me. I think F is the only right answer. I don't know how you could go unless you're a Broncos fan or an NFC East fan or something else. They're like, I think it's an F. They did not do their jobs right. So A, B, C, D, or F, go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. I see a Z. There you go. But it's all Fs. The pin poll is only 4 options. It would have been A/B. People did vote A/B, which is really, really weird. It's just it's not. By the way, fun fact for you guys. Cowboys are one of 9 teams in the NFL to average 30 points per game for the first 8 games and have a negative point differential. 9 teams in NFL history. So that's just like, they're bad. We'll talk about more bad news here on today's show, but if you want the Cowboys to make a trade, whether winning or adding or trading away, like the video. If you want the Cowboys to do something at the trade deadline, maybe that's dumping a player, maybe that's adding a player. Like the video if you haven't already done so. Free, simple, easy to do. I think about Pants Fans is offense D, defense F+, special teams C. Special teams wasn't even that good either. They allowed some big returns, so we'll see. D1 Athlete who's got some super thanks we'll get to on our mailbag says, Tom, when are you getting your own show on ESPN? I mean, I don't know if ESPN would let me do the show that we do now. Like, I don't really think they'd let me do that, and they wouldn't let me do the watch parties where I call the defense mega booty ass cheeks. I feel like that would not be allowed, and that's like half the fun in the end. But I appreciate that, D1 Athlete. Thank you very much, my friend. Make sure you are subscribed if you are not already, because, I'm not going anywhere. Why would I? $5 super chat from Hunter M. We'll get him into the raffle here. The first entry, minus the super chats, super thanks that we have to add later on. Realistically, where can we expect to draft with our pick in the Packers? Does this team with a Dan Quinn defense in Super Bowl one can dream? I'll be honest, guys. It had some good runs with Dan Quinn, but even the end of Dan Quinn's tenure in Dallas wasn't good. I feel like we just completely ignore that. I think you have a talent deficiency and a coaching issue. So I think you need multiple things on that side of the ball. The current draft pick status, by the way, for both of these teams, Packers are going to be picking in the late 20s. Right now, they're 31st pick because they're 5-1-1. They actually have the best record in the NFC. And they finally kind of woke back up against the Steelers. Right now, Dallas is picking 15. Now, with how hard their schedule is, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it gets up to like 12, but I think you're going to have a mid first round pick and a late first round pick. So, coming up on today's show, we have plenty of. I'm just going to call out the defense a lot, frankly. Like there's no sugarcoating this. We'll talk NFL trade deadline rumors as it relates to the Cowboys, potential ads Dallas could be pursuing. Mailbag, get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. And we'll run through some trade candidates as mentioned by ESPN's Adam Schefter. Todd Archer, the Cowboys beat writer. Several notable names I want to discuss that he had mentioned and what I think the likelihood is for potential action there. So that is all coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. News, trade rumors, a mailbag. Get your questions in, hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat, and trade candidates. All live here on the Cowboys Report. Coming off of Week 8 and the rewatch, thanks to NFL Pro, yeah, it's all bad for the Cowboys. Pretty much all of it coming in on a terrible defense. There's one or two players I'll mention is like they weren't putrid in this game, but everything about this Cowboys defense was terrible. We'll break down some of the numbers and what I saw on tape too. But first, this is the Monday afternoon video following the 4:25 kick, so no push notification on today's show. We would appreciate it if you were to get this info out that a new video is out. So help us out by sharing today's video on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Share it right now as we break down where the Cowboys sit defensively going into Monday Night Football, which shouldn't change these two numbers with where the Chiefs and Commanders are at. The Cowboys are 31st in points per game, 31st in yards per game, 32nd in EPA per play, 31st in yards per play, 32nd in success rate, 31st in passing yards per game, 29th in rush yards per game. Better! And dead last in third down defense, a borderline historical incompetency from the Dallas Cowboys defense. They suck. Like I'm running out of ways to indicate like how bad it is. Here's one of them from Ian Harditz, who's citing True Media on this one. Very different numbers than what was mentioned on NFL Pro, but the running backs angle does boost it. Running backs averaged 5.35 yards before contact on Sunday. It is the highest single-game mark in 2025. And you can go back and watch just like all the runs on NFL Pro, and the same thing is true. Nobody's winning on defense. Osa has not played well against the run. Kenny Clark has had good games on the defensive side against the run, but he was on the ground too much in this one. Mozzie Smith is like the least of your issues, but like he's just a guy, which is a problem. Your linebackers suck. I'm sorry. Shamar James did not have a good game. He did not have instincts putting him in the right spot, and he still wasn't your worst linebacker. I'm so tired of Kenneth Murray. He is a liability. Honestly, I think he's blind. This is the exact thing I was worried about coming over from the Titans. He's athletic. He has no idea where he's supposed to go. There's a goal line play where he's clearly supposed to go fit the run and stop it, and he never gets out of the end zone on a run. What are we doing out here? He's running away from blocks. He can't shut a block to save his life. It's an embarrassment. Sam Williams is a negative football player. He gets the start. Didn't play very many snaps today or Sunday. That got dialed back, but he's a negative football player. He is more likely to get you a penalty than to do something positive on any given play. He continuously does not keep his gap sound. All those outside runs, he's just leaving his assignment and getting way too far upfield out of position. Why? By the way, Kyer Elam, he was bad fitting the run too. You're going to run the ball to the outside. It was multiple plays. Elam was just cutting inside 2 gaps over. Why? I think the run defense, more than your coverage issues, which are scheme-related too, although you had personnel issues there against Denver too because of injuries, the run defense, I think, is very much a personnel problem. The back 7 guys, they can't shut a block to save their lives. They're just bad in this area. Now, the answer is A for all of it, but if you have to blame one the most for the Cowboys defense, C for the coaches, P for the players, F because the front office hired the coaches and drafted the players. C, P, or F, let me know in the comments of today's show. Let's go to the coverage. I'm so tired of every single game coming out or going in going like, hey, the quarterback hasn't played that great. Don't let him have his best game ever. And then that happens. Bo Nix has had struggles pushing the ball downfield all year. He had his best game throwing 20-plus yards by a massive margin. 20-plus air yard throws. 3 of 5, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1.64 EPA per play. The previous 7 games combined, he completed 6 passes for 205 yards. The yards per attempt was over double. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick in those. EPA play was negative. He was hurting his team throwing the ball downfield. Instead, every time they dropped back, they were generating big-time chunk plays. You don't get, by the way, +7 for throwing a touchdown. If you're already in touchdown territory, you already have the expected points, so you don't get quite as many there. But this is just constant. Next-gen stats. The Cowboys' defense has now allowed a league-high 19 completions and 8 touchdowns on 20-plus on throws of 20-plus air yards this year. There's no way around it. Every single week, the Cowboys' defense is getting gashed defensively. We'll talk about the zone and man side here in a little bit. It's all bad right now. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Prize Picks offers a variety of really just fun options for you. You can do the flex play. The flex play is you don't have to get each and every single one right. You can go 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, whatever, and still cash out. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5. Little Monday night football action for you on the Prize Picks side of things. Marcus Mariota more than 11.5 yards on his longest carry. Rashee Rice more than 66.5 receiving yards. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks. Pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app in one click with the new Feed tab on Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Look at the comment section and the description of today's show. Now, we used Summer Sports' data on this here for man coverage and zone coverage. There were 2 plays and completions that they weren't 100% sure on, but they felt it was more zone than man. 65 point, it rounded up to 5%. and round up 34.5%. So that's the 0.1 difference there. Just so you know. The stats wasn't great. Man coverage, Denver completed 50% of the passes, actually. 6.8 yards per attempt, did allow 2 touchdowns. Also had what was a gift-wrapped interception because it was 5 yards behind the intended receiver on a slant, RPO glance. Zone coverage, 73.7%. Yards per play was 9.4. Touchdowns were 2. Triquez Bridges couldn't cover a nosebleed in the back of the end zone. It was all kinds of ugly. And this was in man, too. Look, the Cowboys are running more man than what they have done previously, but they still continue to run mostly zone, and they stink at it. Like, they just don't have any feel for – there's no pressure, which we'll get to in a little bit. It's a compounding snowball of errors of one guy's out of position in zone or man, and they're cooked. They don't get any pressure. Team's got time to sit back and chill. It's just the coaching staff is not designing good stuff. There's no disguises really. It's all very vanilla. Even when they blitz, they're kind of blitzing the safeties and linebackers and the nickel guy, and it's just not working. I think you'd still run more man. I just think you can't. I honestly wish you had Trevon Diggs out there and not Triquez Bridges. That's how bad things are. What should the Cowboys do more of? I think it's man, but it's not like it's great either. M for man, Z for zone. Per PFF, Cowboys had 6 pressures against the Denver Broncos on all of those dropbacks. Horrible ratio. Donovan Rocco had 3 of them. Now, he played a lot. Their pressures aren't the highest quality pressures, but they are getting there. Dante Fowler had 2. Kenneth Murray had 1 on a blitz. Nobody else showed up. That interior of the Denver offense line that I thought was gettable, quiet games from Kenny Clark and Osa Odigizua. I think Williams had 1 on the 2-point try. Doesn't count. 2-point play. He sucks. He doesn't do anything for me. And honestly, I don't even know if he's your worst edge right now. Is Marshawn Nealon doing anything? He's not doing a great job against the run. Missed several tackles. He's not getting pressure because he wasn't that guy at Western Michigan. He was not a consistent pressure getter. I didn't like that draft pick at the time. I have been really disappointed by Marshawn Nealon. The Cowboys did blitz a little bit more relative to their season numbers, but when you blitz and it does not get home, bad things happen. Bad things happened for Bo Nix. 9 dropbacks, was pressured 4 times on these per PFF. 7 of 9 through the air, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 INTs. It is just bad. He had time against the blitz. They weren't getting home. I don't love the designs of those blitzes. I'd like to see some stunts occasionally. I don't feel like there's any stunts from this Cowboys team, but it's all bad. I'll have more Cowboys coverage for you. Good, bad, ugly, super ugly, mega booty ugly. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Wanted to at least mention the offensive line's play here. They allowed way too many quick pressures. The time to pressure per NFL's next-gen stats was 2.21, which is by far the worst of the season. We're talking almost a half-second difference from their previous one, which is a massive amount of time. The offensive line, everyone had their issues at various points. Guyton continues to have the most obvious losses, but honestly, for the first time, I think all year, I've gone back and went, actually, I don't think he was as bad as I thought he was in the game. In the previous weeks, it had been, yeah, he's barely surviving. There were a couple ugly reps from Guyton, but I thought actually overall he did a good job against Nick Bonito. You just need to take those 3, 4, 5 just really bad plays, cut it down to 2 or 3. That's the next step there. I don't think Tyler Smith was as good today. That was disappointing. Don't think Brock Hoffman had a very good game, outside of the fumble by Captain Insano. Tyler Booker was okay. Terrence Steele is just kind of playing like Terrence Steele is. My biggest issue was the stunt and blitz pickup from the interior of the offensive line and the running backs, I don't think was great in this one. I thought Vance Joseph did some very creative things with what he was showing, what he was bringing. And the Cowboys, this has been an issue in the past, that they're young and inexperienced, haven't been able to really identify that. PFF's pass rush win rates, by the way, you know what stands out here? Only 15% for Nick Bonito is kind of shockingly low. When he won quickly and impressively against Guyton. But DJ Jones and Zach Allen, the interior guys, kind of had their way up front. It was not just a lot of bad, and the offensive line gets some blame there. But I think the defense gets the blame first and foremost, I would hope. Who gets more blame for Week 8? O for the offense, D for the defense. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. One stat before we go today. Dating back and including Week 13 of the 2023 NFL season, that was that Thursday night chaos game where the defense couldn't do anything right and the offense bailed them out. The Cowboys defense is allowing a nice, cool, even 28 points per game. 28 per game. In that time frame, it is the worst in the NFL. It is not just a one-year thing. It's not just a one-coach thing, a one-player thing. This has been going for almost 2 calendar football years now. The defense has massive issues. They have missed on too many draft picks. That's a future video we'll do. But the problems on this defense go into its core. And that is why fixing it is not easy. It is a multi-level issue up front, in the middle, in the back end, on the spine, on the outsides, you name it. All of the defense at various points has had significant issues, and an overhaul is required again on this side of the ball, which amplifies it because you've done multiple overhauls from a coaching staff perspective already. How many more games will the Dallas Cowboys win over the rest of the season? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. How many more games are the Cowboys going to be able to win? Let me know. I think Jake nails it. What's up? You good there? It's a big sigh from you. Oh, okay. Offense wasn't good either yesterday, but the defense was decent. We could have made it a game. Your offense could have had its B game, and I don't think you could have made it a game. That's my issue of like you can't be that level of bad. 4, 7, 5, maybe 3, 1, 2, -1 from Jet. That's quite funny. 3, 0, 1, 4. Keep the comments coming. How many more games will the Dallas Cowboys end up winning? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Get to our super chat menu, by the way. Any super chat is a shout out. $5 equals a raffle entry. $10 equals 3 raffle entries. $50 is a shot. $100 is a beer bong. That is the super chat menu on today's show. We'll have some fun if they come in and enjoy ourselves here. So get your super chats in here on the Cowboys Report. We'll hit them as part of the mailbag coming up here in just a little bit. So any super's a shout out. $5 is a raffle entry. 10 is 3, 50 for a shot, $100 for a beer bong. The NFL trade deadline is 1 week away. So what's the latest going on out there? Will the Cowboys be active? And frankly, should they be active at this year's NFL trade deadline? Or should this be a team that stands pat or even sells because of the issues they've run into over the course of this season? What do you guys think? Should the Cowboys be trade deadline buyers? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments section of today's show. Then we'll get into some of the updates on who could be available, what the Cowboys are doing. Go vote. Y for yes, N for no. Now, Sunday morning, Fox Sports' Jay Glazer reported that the Cowboys did call on Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, and frankly, called around across the NFL trying to get a feel for what the market looks like, who's available, the cost, etc. And I do think this is good practice by the Dallas Cowboys. Gives you a feel for what the price is to buy and even what the asking price is from other teams to maybe sell some of your guys. Which would mean they straight up lied to local media. Because all the local media said they didn't call about Max Crosby. All the national media has said that they did. I suspect that they just lied to local media because, why would you want to admit you called on someone you got told no about anyway? This was also backed, by the way, by Jeremy Fowler's report over at ESPN. We'll break that down here for you. Fowler saying, quote, "The Cowboys are looking for, I'm told, an impact defensive player. They've really called around to several teams, pretty much most of the league, trying to survey the market, who could be available in that front seven. Think defensive line, linebacker. That's why those Max Crosby rumors from this week, although Raiders are going to keep him. With looking high and low, really any tier, to try to see if they can get someone to help them in the front defensively." I would actually argue, and we'll get to some of the quotes later on here from Jerry Jones, I think he has the right mindset as we currently sit with where things are at for the Dallas Cowboys. I think his process from, if I can glean things correctly and interpret the tea leaves here, I think the process is right, at least so far. I think the overall mindset is right, at least so far. So will the Cowboys make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Buy or sell or they make a trade? Let me know in the comments, the pinned comment actually, of today's video. Here's what Jerry said postgame. I don't know what's realistic. Could one better player, if we didn't pay too big of a price to have a better player on defense, possibly help? I'm not trying to be cute, but I think that's why, that's why you go get him, because you think that you could go help your defense. I think we're not. I think we're more than one player away. But what we're closer to than it looks like, in my mind, is executing better on defense. Jerry's saying he doesn't think they're one player away. Now, could part of that be he doesn't want to admit they were a Micah Parsons away? Very possible. But I think he's right still. They aren't one player away on defense. Too much help is needed. This is the issue the Cowboys face on defense overall, but mostly on defense. I am down to trade. It has to be the right type of trade because of how bad this defense is. You can get better. Is it the right amount of better for the right cost? You want to trade your day 3 picks? Sure, I'm fine there. You want to get a young, multi-year player under team control? Yes, I'm down, because that is a move you might make in the offseason anyway, and it doesn't really impact your outlook beyond that. But finding that second half player, that the latter player who's young, who's team controlled, who's impactful, who probably isn't crazy expensive right now, that's really hard to do because those guys aren't available. I don't know who that player is that's like realistically actually available. It is a lot easier and frankly kind of doable to fix a defense in March than it is in October. It is borderline impossible to go from a bottom 2 defense to top 15 in October. It's not easy per se to do it in March, but it is possible. I mean, frankly, that's essentially what the Falcons have done this offseason. They've taken that massive step forward from what it was in last year's campaign. And there's, other teams who have been able to pull off similar feats of accomplishment and strength. The Niners' injury is a big factor, are one of them. Notable players, by the way. Don't keep your hopes alive for a Max Crosby trade. It's just, this one's not going to happen. No one wants to part ways from either side. I don't think any Max Crosby trade is happening. He does not want out. The Raiders don't want him out. You can put that one to the side and say, you can revisit the offseason, I guess, if you want, but it's just not in the cards. As for Trey Hendrickson, the Cowboys got some good news and bad news on that front. Look, on one hand, the Bengals blew it against the Jets. I told you guys, if the Bengals lost against New York, we could come back and revisit, see how that works. And in theory, you would think that makes a trade a little bit more likely. But the Cowboys also lost, so you're the exact same spot as the Bengals are, frankly, relative to playoff hopes and dreams. Hendrickson also re-injured his hip, which is now kind of a huge concern. Details as of filming still not yet known, but that's a concern. So should Dallas, given where they're at, be trading for a hurt, expensive, pending free agent who's turning 31? I don't think Hendrickson alone, let's say it costs you a second, which you don't have a third, so it's probably the cost. A second doesn't get you into the playoffs. If you really want him, you could always just try to sign him next offseason or trade for him next offseason with a new extension. I don't think now the timing makes a ton of sense. Name a player you want to trade for. We're going to some other trade until it's popped up over the last couple of days. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Name a player who you want to go trade for. Dianna Russini over at The Athletic had some more NFL trade intel, and I wanted to mention some of the names, how it impacts Dallas. One of them, by the way, was Roger McCreary is available. Obviously, for a day 3 pick swap, what amounts to really just a 5th-round pick, basically. For McCreary, Cowboys are going to be in the market there, so be it. Russini on Quinnen Williams. Teams have shown interest in him, although New York's asking price is massive. The Cowboys, remember, per Jerry, the report was, called the Jets about trying to get Quinn Williams as part of the Micah Parsons trade. Did not go anywhere. I think Quinn Williams is an awesome player. I think he would be an instant boost to your defense. We should be able to read between the lines of, hey, other teams have called on them. What is a massive asking price? At least a first-round pick. And probably multiple picks involved there. He's great. Dallas is pretty heavily invested at defensive tackle. Talking you paid Osa and you traded for Kenny Clark. And the Cowboys don't want to admit that they screwed up with a Micah trade to got Kenny Clark. Not that they did, but they would never admit it anyway. This is likely multiple premium picks. My defense needs too much to justify giving up multiple premium picks for one player. If you want more free Cowboys YouTube videos, hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. I've seen this one floated out there by some other Cowboys content creators, so I wanted to acknowledge it. Diana says the Jags are sending our calls for wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr., even if a move feels highly unlikely. Here's how we should interpret that. The Jags are listening, but they want at least a first-round pick and probably multiple first-round, or at least a first-round pick and change. BTJ has been a bit of a disappointment this year. Has not had the level of impact that I think we all thought he was going to. I was surprised to see him mentioned by Cowboys people because I don't need another wide receiver. I can't give up the level of assets required to get Brian Thomas Jr., then keep George Pickens, because otherwise, why are we going to flip George? Like, what are we doing out here? We already know it works with Pickens. Why go do that? And then, giving up the assets, he's under team control, he's cheap. Like, if you didn't have George Pickens, different conversation there. But I don't see any logical value to giving up the actual assets you need on your defense for a third receiver. That's not good roster construction. Mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. We will hit Gotham Guy and Tan Fam and Josh Turner as part of today's show. Several $10 super chats in that bucket, which I greatly appreciate. So 3 entries on that front. The super chat menu. Any super is a shout out. A $5 super chat gets you a raffle entry. $10 equals 3 raffle entries. $50 is a shoddy. $100 is a beer bong here on the Cowboys Report. So keep the questions coming in via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. That is the menu on today's show, and we will dive into today's mailbag next. A $5 super thanks from CJ DeYoung III. Yes, but Laurel and Hardy aren't going to fire Eberflush, which is the fun name for it. Who do we replace him with? This was in firing. Do you want to fire Eberflush? He said yes. I think the answer there is Aaron Whitecotton probably gets a chance to call the plays defensively. Everyone else is a direct Flus disciple and probably not the route you want to go. Whitecotton is at least the outsider. Does that work? I have my doubts. But that's the situation that the Cowboys find themselves in, that the options aren't good, but we're kind of past the good options at this time. If you want in to our weekly Cowboys raffles, assigned giveaways, etc., a $5 super thanks gets you in to the raffle. So can't watch live? Super thanks instead. A lot of long comments here from Anthony Hill Burner. I will summarize in cheap, saying that he went back with the mic comments. A lot of cope on that front. Asking Clark and Osa to be Aaron Donald isn't fair. You guys, not Tom, ate Jerry slop as usual. I know the Dak haters don't like to hear this, but many good QBs struggle against great defenses. But as usual, Dak is allowed to have a game where he doesn't pass 30 yards and 3 scores, even though guys like Hurts and Mahomes could win throwing for 100. Is it just me, or do most of Dak throws have to be perfect because there isn't enough separation? Meanwhile, any QB against our defense will light them up. I think Bland is the only guy willing to tackle defensively, maybe Reddy Stewart as well. A lot going on there. I will say I watched the Eagles win a game with 0 completed passes. Like they were 0 of 8 or 0 of 9 with Hurts. That would never happen for this particular team. It's not realistic to expect the offense to carry you every single week. At some point, the other side of the ball has to show up. For this season, the best case in that is you held a team without the worst team in football, or you held a team without the top 3 receivers to 22 points. It's not actually that good. in the end. Kevin Walker, thanks. Cowboys' only problem is the Joneses, with a very similar super thanks that came in as well. Look, I completely understand all of the frustration on the Jerry Jones side. I completely understand all of it. It is, in the end, this is a Jones-led group. They are the ones who hired the coaches. They are the ones who drafted the players. William Cook is right. This is with $5 super checks. Thanks. The reason for these performances are one of the worst GMs in football. He refused to sign his best players early and traded him because of his feelings got hurt. He refuses to actually sign good players in free agency. Has not had a good defensive draft in 4 years. That part, by the way, super under the radar. I think the sheer influence from your defensive coaches has kind of led to some problems when they all get fired/leave. But the buck has to stop with the front office, and they never take accountability. Are you mad at the Jones boys? FJB in the comments section of today's show. Sound off in the comments if you are upset. D1 athlete. Again, I'll condense these down here because they're two very similar ones that came in separately. Trade this year's first for Crosby, next year's first for Hendrickson. We win the Super Bowl, and then we're all happy. Then he also said something similar. Loves the show. Love what you're doing there. Had the same idea on a different super chat. But I want to get into the shout out there. This year's first for Crosby, next year's first for Hendrickson. Here's my issue. And he's right. You can research for Smith. The money's fine. 2 firsts for Hendrickson is way too much. I don't even know if the Reds would take 2 firsts for Crosby. Because that was, I mentioned I put that out there, and y'all got mad saying that was way too much. And then got mad when the Raiders said they weren't going to trade him. Well, you have to pick one. Either overpay or don't get him. I am frustrated by the front office. I get that. You have issues on defense. I don't know if you're actually smart to trade away your first-round picks right now, unless it is a very special player. Crosby would fit that mold. I don't know if there's anybody else like even remotely out there, and I don't think Max is available either. B-Phils10. Why do you think they have not yet paid Aubrey? / what do you think his contract will look like? It's a kicker. It should be easy. Deserves it. Also, what will a potential Javonte Williams extension look like? Maybe the Tony Pollard deal from a couple years ago. Slight pay boost is what you see Javonte get. 2 or 3 years. Does he get $7-8 million with 1.5 years guaranteed? I think that's reasonable for the Javonte side. As for Aubrey, highest paid kicker. He's an RFA, I believe, after this year. Kicker is a very tricky position in general. So I don't mind waiting. You can just do it in the offseason. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better on Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. Keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is the only app to offer stacks. Pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Maybe, for example, you want to do more than passing yards and rushing yards and TDs for Kyler Murray. Certainly would not blame you. You can do them all in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. A football Sunday Prize Picks lineup here. Cameron Dicker, more than 7.5 points for the Chargers against a struggling Titans team. Jim Ray DK, a half anytime touchdown there. And Justin Herbert, more than 1.5 passing TDs. Also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Again, from Anthony Hill Burner says, generally get Sean Lee in here. I don't care. What's the worst that can happen? You are already so bad. Cut Diggs in the offseason. Let your players walk. Sign multiple other players. Otherwise, the micro trade makes even less sense. Still awful either way. Also, draft Anthony Hill and Michael Taft out of Texas. I don't know if the Anthony Hill Burner is the former Jaden Blue Burner. I think it might be. In general, though, it is a very good linebacker class. So I do think... I do think you'll be able to find a good linebacker or 2 if you want to in this year's NFL draft. From JB, we still have Bland, Diggs, and Overshown. We have talent on the defensive line that's not deployed correctly. We don't need to send draft picks for talent. We need a new defensive coordinator or a reborn one. Blitz and man coverage. Are they going to stick with Eberflus in 2026? Let him draft these kind of guys. 2 words. Taco Charlton, not TJ Watt. Big fan, Tom. Really enjoy. I appreciate that. Couple notes. Overshow's not healthy yet, but he'll get healthy soon. I don't think you can count on Diggs at this point. With the way the front office feels about him, that divorce is pending in the not too distant future there. I do think you need more talent. You mentioned a linebacker and a corner. What about safety? I don't think your edges are that good. I think Ezraku's got potential, but everyone looked better when you had Micah because he took the attention away, and now you don't. And I think that's why Osa's production is down this year. He's getting more double teams because Dante Fowler didn't scare you. Ezraku does not scare you yet. Clark is not his pass rusher. It was a bad trickle-down effect. So overall, I want you guys to rate the Cowboys' defensive talent. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Gotham Guy, $10. You probably already talked about this, but even if we pass rule and fix our defense, is there anyone in next year's draft better than the current trade options? Well, who's available in the trade options? Like, if Max Crosby is in that conversation, which I don't think he is, then no, of course not. I don't think Hendrickson is realistically available. It's also just like having that 12th pick, getting somebody good, young, and cost-controlled does matter. You have to, if you're going to pay your offense the way you're paying them, which you should, you're going to have to adopt cheap defense and hit on those draft picks. Otherwise, it's really hard to win team builder-wise. You have seen that issue with, like, the Bengals, for example. And at times, Philadelphia, but they've always been able to fix it the very next season. There are good defensive players in this class. Sonny Styles, but Arvell Reese even better at linebacker. Ruben Bain, I think Keldrick Faulk could be a nice piece for you. Caleb Downs. Do you get one of them? It's possible. We'll see where they end up picking in the end. Tan Fam, what is the weakest position on our defense? Yes. Take your pick. Deep coverage. You're getting gashed repeatedly. I don't know. The safeties are super banged up right now. Maybe, they were down your 3 or top 4 in that game. 4 your top 5 at the end, actually. You had to play corner there. Corner is not good enough, especially outside of Bland. They're actually pretty bad outside of him. Linebackers are not playing well because you don't have Overshown. Maybe not DT because at least you're getting like some good play in games, not consistently, but some good play. Like it's all kinds of bad. It's all of it. That's the issue, is that nothing is playing well. Josh Turner says, "Hope we trade Jerry." Wouldn't that be nice? There are several jokes here that I could make that are very much over the line that I will not make out of, I don't know, not getting myself canceled about, what Jerry could do to get rid of him. But it's not good in Dallas. They've got some significant issues, and it starts with the ownership. Now, if you missed today's Cowboys Mailbag live, then subscribe. We're live on Mondays, live on Thursdays. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button at youtube.com/CowboysTV. This coming week will be a little bit different. No live Monday because of the game, and then live Tuesday for the trade deadline. $10 from William Cook. We all know the root cause of this situation. The GM doesn't face any consequences for his poor performance, and this motivates him to take risks to improve. You need to have something. You need to have a little bit of desperation. A little bit of desperation could be good. Look at Philadelphia. Look at Tampa. They had some desperation. It paid off for him in the end. I would like it if you operated with the actually my job security is so good I get benefits from that of like I can be a bit more aggressive. I can do more crazy stuff and I can go for it and not risk, having to lose my job in the process. But they don't. They just are so content to play it conservatively because they don't ever want to be bad. And they're barreling towards, just like the Romo era, mediocrity. Kevo, Myles Garrett, make it happen. I don't care. Offer full coverage on his deal. Not how it works, actually. It's just not. The salary cap can be manipulated within reason. You can't do it. The Browns would lose a ridiculous amount of salary cap space with nothing that you are able to do to prevent that. It is a non-starter. I get Myles Garrett's frustrated. Guess what? That's what the money's for, Myles. That's why you requested a trade and then said, I'll just stick around. He signed up for it. I don't feel bad for him at all. The John 4. Any noteworthy college defensive players? Maybe wait. There are defensive players. You can go check out we broke down the Kuiper big board. Several defensive names on that list. Guys like Arvell Reese. Guys like Ruben Bain, Caleb Downs. Throw a dart. You can find a defensive player that will probably help you given how bad you are right now. The Tyler Troop. How about a Logan Wilson trade? I think he could actually be available. He's not playing very much. The biggest issue you now face for the Bengals is they just lost another linebacker to injury. I think Shaka Hayward out for a while with his injury. The Bengals, view themselves as a potential threat. Like, they should have beat the Jets and they'd be like a half game out of the AFC North. Now they're only a game and a half out. They're actually closer to being a playoff team than the Cowboys are right now. So, doesn't sound good, but that's where we're at. I'd call about him, though, because he is under team contract for several years. He'd probably just cost you a day 3 pick if they were to actually move him. I don't mind that one at all. Would you trade for Logan Wilson? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section of today's show. Roman wants to tackle Jerry. The other problem you face is on this front is, hey, bad news, guys. The Sun is just as bad, if not worse. He's a problem. Sick Tricks AB, $5 says sign Odell Beckham. I assume this is now a parody idea because this is not. Odell Beckham is also suspended for PEDs. Also isn't good. Like he's cooked. He's never playing again in the NFL, I don't think. Trade for Minka. Try to trade for a defensive end. Those trades I don't mind. If you were, the funny part is like, if you already had the edge, you could be like, let's go get Minka and go for it. I just, could you do a 2-for-1 trade for Jalen Phillips and Minka Fitzpatrick? Maybe something along those lines start to move the needle a little bit for you, but I do think it has to be valuable in the end. King Trail says, I want the linebacker from Ohio State, Arvell Reese. He's super fun. He does some blitzing stuff too, like shades of like Jalen Walker and a better version, which like puts you into the Micah conversation. I am very curious where he gets deployed in the NFL because he does a really good job of blitzing. He's just big enough, I think, to hold up there. So I would not mind taking him and honestly considering him as a edge too. Last one from Corey Poindexter Jenkins. If we have the assets to comfortably do it, I look to add both Jermaine Johnson and Logan Wilson if a Crosby trade isn't in the cards. I think Wilson, let's just guess it's a day 3 pick. That is doable. I would bet the Jets are going to ask for at least the second-round pick from Jermaine Johnson. The thing that gives me pause, that's a lot. You also can't draft in the second. So I'm not opposed to it, but I do wonder what the actual cost of a Johnson trade would end up being. Super chat menu on today's show. Appreciate every single one who already got in on today's video. $5 for a raffle entry, $10 for 3 raffle entries, $50 for a shot, $100 for a beer bong. Get those super chats. And had one come in from Sick Tricks AB as well. Then he had the $5 one, so wanted to give you the extra love there, AB. I appreciate that. Any super chats, feel free to get them in, hit them after the final segment of today's show. We also have a game tonight. Monday Night Football. Chiefs and the Commies. Who you got? KC for the Chiefs. WAS for the Washington Commanders. Who you got? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. I like KC tonight. I like them, frankly, with ease. No Jaden Daniels. They're hot right now. I like KC, Aiden.
It's going to be a blowout. I saw the spread was like 11 or something right now, which is probably the biggest I've seen since the start of the season. Would probably hammer that.
This has been a week of blowouts anyway, by the way.
Right.
Like nothing, there have been very few competitive football games. Chargers won by 27. Dolphins won by 24. Jets and Bengals went down to the wire.
Yep.
Browns won by Patriots won by
Saints
19, I
got
think.
blown out.
So what?
Saints got blown out, I believe.
Yeah, Eagles won by 18. Bills won by, I can't do math, 40 to 9. That was almost 30. Or 31. Ravens won by 2 scores. Texans and Niners was a 9-point game. Bucks won by 20. Broncos won by 20. Colts won by 24. Packers won by 10. There have been very few one-score games. So just kind of how it turned out. Lots of blowouts across the NFL this week. So who you got? KC for the Chiefs. WAS for the Commanders. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. By the way, Commanders lose this game. Man, their season might have gotten away from them. Can we edit these so we don't have hanging chads galore there? Commanders' schedule very much gets out of hand in the coming weeks. Chiefs, Seahawks, Lions, their next 3 games. Then they get a reprieve against the Dolphins. Then they get the Broncos. Then they get the Vikings, who may or may not be a playoff team by then. We'll see how they look when McCarthy gets back. Giants, but then Eagles twice with the Cowboys in between to end the season. It might be a 6-win season for the Commanders. They are not in a particularly good spot. So who they got? KC for the Chiefs or WAS for the Washington Commanders? Get those votes in. I'll give some shout-outs here as well. Richard Wilson says KC. Hayden Brock says KC by 1,000. Back says KC. LT says KC by 14. Josh, Brendan, Tyler, Perry, and Jason all typing in their KCs as well. Cowboy Rob 28, Richard Wilson also typing in KC on that front. I'll shout out Roman's super chat here real quick, $2. What is your Cowboys record prediction? I got them going 5-11-1. Haven't really. I might do it after the bye. We'll see how this year goes out. We can go to the super chat real quick though, Aiden. It's fine. Haven't really dove too far into it. Let's see. So they got 3 wins right now. 2. I think they get beyond 5. But my concern is it's like they get to 7. Now, I think what matters is your November swing into early December is brutal. You have Eagles, Chiefs, Lions in a 3-week span. Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, Giants doesn't look as daunting as it did a month ago. And Minnesota's been a little bit shaky, but that'll probably be the J.J. McCarthy breakout game. The Commanders and Giants might both be out of it by then. But are you out of it? Do you want to win the games at that point? We'll see. But I do think I had 7 in the initial prediction. Post-Micah trade, I think is what I had. Maybe that's still in the cards there. Welcome to the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. We're breaking down some Cowboys trade candidates, i.e. players the Cowboys might ship out, all coming in via ESPN's Todd Archer. It does feature some big names. I do question, is there real interest in some of these guys? Can you actually find a trade partner? If so, great, because I do think beyond 2025 might be the proper priority with just how bad this defense is. So when it comes to the trade deadline, what should the Cowboys be? B for buyers, S for sellers, H for holders. Let me know in the comments of today's show. So Cowboys trade candidates. First up here is Trevon Diggs. And this is a name that many of you have mentioned because everyone's mad at him. And he's also mad at everybody. It's a bad relationship right now. Here's what Todd Archer wrote. The question becomes, what could the Cowboys get from him in a trade? Well, maybe a better question is this. If the Cowboys are going to move on from him this season for salary cap purposes, why not take a day 3 pick back in return if they can get it? If he is cut, the Cowboys will get no compensation in return. I think it is extremely obvious the Cowboys and Trevon Diggs are headed towards a divorce. He will not be here in 2026. I think that's been the case dating back to this past offseason when that relationship had clearly grown toxic, regardless of who's to blame. Who wants to trade for Trevon Diggs right now? Who here wants a guy with multiple injuries, currently on IR? Cowboys, if it wasn't the concussion, it was the knee flaring up on him again. Oh, and he's expensive. That is not a guy that generates trade value. I don't think there's any value in shipping out Trevon Diggs right now. In fact, if you wanted to, you might have to attach a draft pick. And I don't know if that's worth it for you. Look, overall, it just isn't good between Diggs and the Cowboys. It just has not gone the way it's needed to. They could save some money by moving on from him right now, but you'd save the prorated figure of what the new team would owe, etc. The new team would take on around $5 million for half a year of Trevon Diggs, and he's hurt right now. This doesn't make any sense. I would be shocked if anybody had interest in a Trevon Diggs trade. In fact, had there been interest, I think he would have been moved in the offseason, but there wasn't any in the end. So will Trevon ever play again for the Cowboys, or is he just going to stick on IR for the rest of the season? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Next up is Jalen Tolbert. And this is one that I had pushed back on in the offseason. You've gotten some of the things that I wanted to make sure was happening before I wanted to consider flipping him. Here's what Todd wrote. The Cowboys would be careful about making such a move because injury to Lamb or Pickens leave them very vulnerable if they moved on from Tolbert. Would a receiver-needy team take a Hassan look at Tolbert, a third-round pick, for a 5th, 6th, or 7th-round pick in exchange? I do think the injury point is very valid. And I think Tolbert has fallen behind the depth chart. Ryan Flanoy has surpassed him, it seems like. Why not shop him at this point? He's not going to be on your team next year, and that's okay. I don't think Tolbert is part of the Cowboys' 2026 plans. He's not a bad player, though. He kind of consistently makes a play when called upon. It's just few and far between opportunities, and he's just not a dynamic player overall. He just is a good backup wide receiver. You might be able to do something here. I think that's still, 6th-round pick, 7th-round pick, day 3 pick swap at that. I don't think you're getting massive value, as weird as the wide receiver market often ends up being, but he's been clutch in the past. But I want to see more Ryan Flanoy. And frankly, look, you traded a 4th-round pick for Jonathan Mingo. He wasn't even active this week. At some point, you're probably going to have to activate Mingo, or at least want to activate Mingo. And if you don't do that now and give him a chance, well, are you ever going to? And if you're going to activate Mingo, probably means Jalen Tolbert is the guy that you're going to scratch, so why not flip him? This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Prize Picks is available in more than 40-plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. How you play is up to you. You want flexibility? Do the flex play. You can get paid even if one of your picks misses. You want the biggest payouts? Do the power play instead. Here's one Sunday football Prize Pick slate. Cameron Dicker, the kicker, more than 7.5 kicking points, so points. Shimray DK, more than a half touchdown. And Justin Herbert, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show, but download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Let's go to Sam Williams here. And I am done with this. I am more than happy to move on. Here's what Todd wrote. The Cowboys considered giving Williams an extension during training camp, but he wanted to see how this year turned out. Like Tolbert, if he is not in the Cowboys' plans beyond 2025, perhaps it makes sense to look at what they could get, although it is possible they could recoup a comp pick for him in 2027. First off, thank God they did not do that. Thank God the Cowboys said, actually, we're not going to go out and actually end up paying Sam Williams. That would have been a disaster. It honestly would have been, you paid Sam just to spite Micah Parsons, frankly. He has been a liability. There's no way around it anymore. He has more penalties than sacks over the course of his career. He is more likely, it feels like every single week, to hurt you than he helps you. He will not stay in his gaps. He will bounce it out inside far too often. He hasn't had a pressure in 2 weeks. He had 5 against the Eagles. He's got 10 in the following 7 games. He's a liability. He's not a winning football player. He might make the occasional splash play for you, do something right, show some effort, but too often he is a negative for you. As a result, shoot, man, I don't know who wants him. Who wants to trade for Sam Williams? The draft pedigree, 2nd-round pick might help, but you turn on that tape and you go, oh, he's not doing a good job against the run, and he's not doing a good job against the pass. Dan Quinn needs some help. Dan Quinn was a key driving factor in drafting Sam Williams in the first place, which was part of the issues that, the Cowboys front office loved Dan Quinn's eye and how he held up with the scouts, but a lot of the Quinn-era picks were bad, which is a future video we'll discuss. I'm done. I'll free up snaps for others. I'll take whatever I can get for him. I don't know if I can get something. Now watch, he goes to the Niners and ends up getting good with their great defensive line coach. I would crash out. If the Cowboys make a trade, adding or subtracting, we will have a video for you. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Mazi Smith is next up here. Not surprised in this one either. Again, draft pedigree. Maybe there's some interest there. Here's what Todd wrote. It says the first-round pick is on a fully guaranteed contract signed through 2026. A change of scenery might do everyone some good if there's a team that believes Smith can find the form he had at Michigan. I actually don't think Mazi has been that bad this year, but he hasn't been impactful either. If Mazi Smith was a 7th-round pick, we would not be having this conversation right now. But Mazi wasn't a 7th-round pick. He was a 1st-round pick, and there are expectations that come with that. And right now, Mazi is a jag. He's just a guy. One of the worst things you could be in the NFL. He's not horrible out there. He's giving you 15, 20 snaps a game, but they're just snaps. Borderline is doing cardio right now. There's no impact. Got 3 tackles this year. He had that game against the Giants back in 2024. I think the constant coaching changes have been a real negative on Mazi Smith. I think he has been failed by this organization, but he gets just as much blame in the end as well. So name a player who you want to trade away. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Focusing on guys who I think you could maybe get something for. TJ Bass could also be in this list, by the way. First up is Luke Schoonmaker, which doesn't do anything for you. Like he's not good. No one wants him though. You might be able to get something for Dante Fowler. It's very similar to the Everson-Griffin trade years ago. If you lose against Arizona, I would be shopping Dante Fowler pretty darn heavily, actually. That is a name I would shop, and I'll take a day 3 pick and move on. Damone Clark, I don't think anyone wants him. 3 different regimes have gone, okay, he's actually not that good. The one dark horse name I think you can throw out here. What about Kenny Clark? What if you lose against Arizona, your season's over? Could a team take a rental of Kenny Clark and give you a draft pick back? Do you want to pay him $20+ million next year? If the answer is no, you should consider that. I think he has, at times, been very good. At times, not been good. He was not good last week. But that is a notable name that you actually could get something back for. So what should the Cowboys be at the deadline? B for buyers, S for sellers, H for holders. We are at 50% buyers now. 28% sellers, 22% holders. Someone said Donovan Wilson. Yeah, he's hurt and also bad and expensive. Nobody wants him. Someone wants to give him, sure, let's do it. Let's ride. I'm in. But he's not good. Also, Shiloh is not good either. He's not an NFL player, guys. I'm sorry. He wasn't good at Colorado. It's just a name. AK Cam said, not me. Well, I appreciate that. Don't trade me away. Thank you. Steven Gonzalez Jr., $10 super chat, says, hate to be negative. It's therapy hour. Of course you can do that. You can be negative. Do we even want to make the playoffs? I actually do think you want to make the playoffs. Probably means you right of the ship a little bit, and you have some positive momentum going into next year. We are at best of welcome, has to go on the road where we are at our worst. I would rather win 10 games, 9 games at playoffs than win 7 or win 6. Like, give me the playoffs. Maybe get lucky for once. Probably not. But until you're out of it, I don't want to roll over and die. Ethan, $5, says, Buckeyes fan from Ohio. Zeke made me a fan. Need to get down/Reese. Got the picks. Go get one of them. Praying down falls because of position value and also OH. I'm sure someone will say IO in the comments. I think those are the 2 best players on the Ohio State roster right now, especially defensively. Hopefully, positional value does drop him down, which would be nice. What's up, Aiden?
IO, Ethan. That's all I wanted to say.
There you go from Aiden. I think both those guys would be great pickups. Does one fall to you? We'll see where you're picking everything there, but not outside of the realm of possibility. Cowboys fan, with how competitive the NFC is this year, how many wins do we need to get to make the playoffs? Good question. Remember, they're all going to start to kind of cannibalize each other, which is noteworthy. Right now, you would be a game and a half out of the wild card spot. That's it, actually. Game and a half out. You are also, though, behind Carolina and Chicago in that race. You got a bunch of 5-win teams in the NFC, right? The Niners, the Rams, the Lions, Seattle, Tampa. Tampa's got 6. Philly has 6. Green Bay's got 5. So you got to catch some combination of San Francisco, LA, Detroit, and at least one more of, I guess 2 more of the Bears and Panthers. 9 wins, I don't think it's in. 10 wins does, but it might be a tiebreaker. What you kind of want probably is one of the NFC West teams to collapse and one of the NFC North teams to collapse, and Minnesota to keep on losing games. You need to just you also got to cheer for the teams that are tied with you right now. Minnesota, essentially. Washington, Atlanta, Arizona, teams that are not that far out. So the issue is, I think, likely record-wise, you're probably closer to being a bottom 3 team in the NFC than being a top 5 team in the NFC. And that's, Saints, Giants, and maybe Arizona. Concerning. Cowboy fan also says, any update on the FBI looked into that poker game yet? If you saw the tweet, I tweeted out mid-game, at FBI, this man hustled me at a poker game with a bunch of Mafia members and put a photo of Matt Eberflus. No updates yet, which it'd be pretty funny if they did respond, but they're obviously, not going to in the end. So let's get to our next one here. From Picking You Off, Anthony P is first up. Says, Dallas is finally going to pick 32nd in the draft. I am concerned that is going to be the outcome. And I would not like it. I would not like it. Picking you off. How does the free agency 2026 class look? We'll see who actually ends up getting available, but there will be players for you. You will be able to find a starter at various spots if you want to spend in the market the way that you probably need to. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some good players. I don't want to get too far ahead because, fairly frequently it changes, and then the top guy ends up re-signing. Let me shout out some names here real quick, and then we'll sign off. I don't want MLB free agents. Google, come on. What are you doing out here? Obviously, Pickens is one of your best ones. Hendrickson, Jalen Phillips, Reek Woolen, a lot of the guys you mentioned in trade talks there. I think Travis Jones be a good one to consider if you can get him in free agency. Move on from somebody else. You could go borrow Boye Mafi from Seattle. I don't think Devin Lloyd gets the open market, but that'd be a fun one. Nick Bonito already got paid, which would have been fun in the end. This was the tweet, and then it was I had the photo of Matt Eberflus with it, so that was entertaining. Other players on defense: Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, both going to be free agents. DJ Reader will actually be a free agent now. Edgewise, Hendrickson. Doesn't make any sense. When was this done? May of last year. Very stupid. Hendrickson. I think Khalil Mack's free agent after this year if you want a veteran rental. Malcolm Kuntz could be a decent buy low guy. Devin Lloyd has been really good. I think Ivan Pace is going to be an RFA, I believe. Safety-wise, hey, you could go call about Ardarius Washington once he's healthy. Bring him home. Jimmy Ward. Louis Gilman's a free agent. There's some others. There'll be other guys that emerge too, but it's just not going to be the best value because of free agency. We'll be live again on Thursday for you guys. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/CowboysTV.